Well, so the ultra terrestrials, I'll just tell you, the ultra terrestrials, I think, have you heard of the P-52s and the P-47s? Do you know what that is? They're us from the future. They're from here. They are you. They are me. They're from here, from the future. P-47 is present plus 47,000 years. P-52 is present plus 52,000 years. And basically there's a calamity, right? So there's like a apocalypse scenario in the near future. It wipes out most of like everything, man. And there's the ones that go underground and survive, right? And then there's the ones that somehow stay on the surface and miraculously don't die.
The numbers that we received before the Looking Glass was shut down, dismantled, was that there would be a 19% probability with an 85% confidence that the disaster would occur, that there would be a transitioning from timeline 1 to timeline 2. But that then means that there's an 81% chance that it won't. And so the individuals who want to carry the negative, I'm convinced that it's going to occur, are not presenting the facts. The facts are, this is the material that we have available that we know.
So what you're saying is the Illuminati, to get back to that thread,
yes,
is basically the side that believes that the transition is going to occur from one timeline to the other.
Not only do they believe that it will occur, they want to provoke it.
But how does it benefit them to provoke it? Why should they want to be P-45s?
They don't. The living ones don't. They're looking at the P-45s as a means to an end for them. They're not going to live that long. They're just going to live a normal human life and die. So they want the control for themselves. The fact that the P-45s, that's how immoral these people are. The fact that the P-45s are wanting us to, at their stage in their own development, have a disaster which justifies their own history, is being used as a means to an end by the Illuminati, who would like to see that the population is culled so that they could gain greater control. They don't care.
So, okay, so
they just want for themselves. There are really human beings that don't care, or that care that little.
So what you're saying is the Illuminati want the catastrophe to occur,
yes,
so that a certain number, 3/4 is the number I've heard, of humanity dies. They get the
history
earth to
reads
themselves.
about a little over 2/3. That's what the history of the J-rods actually read.
All right, 2/3. And then what? I mean, they've still had to live through earth changes and cataclysms, right?
Right. But these people are also the ones who have their guaranteed positions in the safety zones, underground facilities, etc. And so they are presumed. It is not known for certain, but they are presumed to actually then be the progenitors, if you will, of the people who become the J-rods. The history reads that the natural passage of us through this energetic space is a good thing, but it's our use of technology which provokes the catastrophe.
So it's
our enhancement of this natural system, inappropriate enhancement, which provokes the catastrophe. And so, no, we don't want that to happen. I think that the energetics that we're passing through is part of what's happening to us naturally, that's changing us in a positive way. It's part of the loving cosmos that we're part of. I think that's probably one of the factors, not all, but one of the factors for the rise of these beautiful children, the indigo children. And I'm all for it.
So we want to leave the stargates, the natural stargates. They are leaving those alone.
Right. We want to keep our hands off from nature. Pull our hands away. Get it away from the fruit of the tree of life, so to speak. Get it away and just let nature happen during this time. That will be a good thing. However, we also have people who oppose that because they want what they want.
the potential concern that might be happening here. And then the third piece is, what do we want to do about this problem? Well, we've got to actually address the scientific, technical, ethical, legal, religious aspects of this, and more people need to be involved if we're going to make that progress. So this is the obligatory DoD type of campaign plan chart. So, yeah, we've had phase one. We've completed phase one. I would argue phase one ends when we get Schumer. And so it says, demonstrate UAP existence by, January of 24. And you're like, oh, that's crazy. It's never going to happen. It's probably won't happen in my lifetime. I'm saying that already happened. The Gang of Eight just said that we need this legislation and they don't have proper oversight. So disclosure is a process. It's not an event. And it's going to stair step across these phases. So phase two is where academia, I think, comes in. And then ultimately we get to the wider public. And so we see like October 2030 is maybe the pivot point when this board sunsets. 7 years for the board to do its job. But in order to facilitate the board doing its job, this philosophical investigation, line of effort B, scientific investigation, line of effort C, and private sector investigation, line of effort D, is where we can all contribute to facilitating and lowering that potential barrier. All right, terms of reference, disclosure. So the point here is there's a difference between controlled disclosure and catastrophic disclosure. Controlled disclosure is using the campaign plan. Catastrophic disclosure, I think, was what was alluded to in the prior discussion, where all the information is just dumped out there by an adversary or non-human intelligence to create societal disruption. All right, so this is an important slide because if we want to facilitate this board doing its work, then the barriers that impede that need to be lowered. And so you need to understand what the impediments are to disclosure. And so there's 6 reasons for non-disclosure: national security, lack of a plan, societal disruption, covert agreement, cover for misdeeds, and organizational intransigence.
One of the caveats that I do have some personal information that I did get personally involved in was some information that had to do with the Stargates and Looking Glass, and more specifically the 2012 problem with those projects. I guess, popular opinion of what's out there right now is that the project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012. I've heard it described a number of ways, but to my knowledge, the problem is that the timelines converge on that point in time. And when you know enough about the Stargate projects and the Looking Glass project to know that how string theory works and how the possibility of possibilities works and how making one choice over here doesn't necessarily mean that the other choice couldn't exist at the same time. But once you get your brain wrapped around this subject, you find out that at the end of 2012, in an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future. And eventually we're pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make. And that's important to the people that had access to Looking Glass because they would use Looking Glass knowing the choices that they would make and the future would pop up. The big mistake was coming up with the possibility of future. And when we started using a computer to say, well, if we make this choice, it's 79% possible that this scenario happens, and 23% are possible, or whatever, I'm using round numbers, that this scenario would happen. the understanding at the time was that was realistic. However, if you go down the road further and free will continues to exercise itself on this game, that 79% possibility sometimes changes very, very fast. But if you look at the situation in a point of time, it seems very realistic that that's the greatest possibility. What happened was people, very smart people, began to figure out that something big was coming up. Something that made it so all the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the looking glass inherently ended up in the same future. And no decision and no possibility changed past a certain point. That's the big secret.
Okay, so is that certain 2012 in your understanding?
It well coincides with December 21st, 2012.
So at that point, all possibilities lead to the same
Timelines.
Rubicon.
All possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history in the future.
And what is that history to you? Did you know that, or did you find that out?
That is the big question. That is the big secret. That is what sends everybody that has all of the information, that knows everything, into a blind panic. The people that know everything about Looking Glass, that have gotten all the reports and all the information, the elites of the world, probably figured out that that was the end of the game, and nothing could be manipulated beyond that point.
So do you think that's held true? In other words, well, I have about 60 questions, but do you think that's true or holding true, that nothing can be manipulated, that they haven't found a way to manipulate, that that's still the case? I mean, this is knowledge that you would have gained back when?
When I was in the military, it would have been before '97 when I got in trouble. And it was things that one of my particular areas that I was amazingly intuitive about is problem solving / mission planning, or more specifically, taking a bad mission and fixing it, getting everybody through and out of it.
Troubleshooting an optimum future.
Exactly. Certainly knowing how string theory and possible futures works makes it so you can work your mind very quickly to see the reality of what's happening and decide what decisions need to be made to change it for a particular outcome.
Okay, but at a certain point you said that even the powers that be, so to speak, realized that having even abilities such as yourself, you're talking about, which they, in theory, had even using a computer or looking glass.
Right, they had to use a computer to do it.
Right, so in essence, but at a certain point, it's still an end game. It's still, they cannot go beyond a certain point.
At a certain point, after they're done hearing the computer tell them, this is what's going to happen, over and over and over and over again, all they become focused on is, how do we fix it?
Why? What is this that's going to happen?
The
you know that?
inevitable contraction of the timelines.
But what does that mean for this reality? Do you know that?
I don't know that. What I do know is that I was called in and asked to solve this problem, this timeline contraction problem. And I eventually did my due diligence and did all the investigating and basically only had one piece of information, and that was reinforcement. The computer's right. The timelines will contract down to some inevitable thing that you guys won't tell me about, so I can't help you.
But it's, what you're basically, you came back with was, it is inevitable, whatever it is.
There is an inevitable event. It's been forecast, it's been predicted, it's been fed to us in a slop trough of what they want us to believe will happen.
But they don't actually
However,
know.
they don't actually have control over what happens. They only have control over the reaction, and it seems that no matter what they try to do to cause their desired reaction, it's going to have an opposite effect.
Interesting.
Now, it's much, much easier for me to explain today what that process is as opposed to back then. But if I had to give it a name, I would say it's the awakening process. It's an evolution of consciousness that cannot, will not, and no matter what decisions or possibilities are injected into the equation, eventually it all resolves down to us all learning the truth and becoming aware of this massive dam of lies that has been built that keep us from knowing massive volume of information that we should otherwise possess. Because
that they would lose control.
Because that information was of a monumental concern when I was in the military about how to prevent this inevitability. Now, at first I thought it was end of the world. Now I see end of the world as end of their world. I again see as a new beginning, an end of this reality, the beginning of something that we can't even possibly understand based on the level of our beliefs currently. But when all that information comes flooding out, there's going to be no denying what's true and what's a lie or what's illusion. We won't have the choice to believe that 9/11 happened because of a bunch of terrorists, because we'll know exactly what's happened. Basically what we're experiencing right now is two master chess players sitting at the board. And one of them looks down at the board and sees that he's in checkmate in 7 moves. And he looks across at his opponent and he knows that his opponent sees it too. So there's no getting out of it. So at this point, the loser can only prolong the game. The game, both players know the game is over. It's only a matter of time before he does this, and then you're forced to do this, and then he's forced to do this, and eventually checkmate. We, as a race, if we could understand that the game is over, that based on the rules of the game, the bad guys have already lost, the good guys have already won. Yes, there's moves left on the table, but those moves are being forced by the player that is going to win. The only way that checkmate can't happen is if the player that's winning makes a mistake. But from all of the information that I've gathered, all of the information that's been given, all of the information that's been vetted to me, it seems pretty obvious that the good guy player on the side of the chessboard knows exactly what has to be done to win the game. And so at this point, any mistake would be all but impossible. But again, you really have to understand the game to know that the guy that's losing is lost. And I'm sure most people sitting watching a chess match between two advanced chess players know the game's over long after the two players know it's over, because they can't see the board and see that there's only 7 moves left.
We redid a lot. As you remember, I made Space Force, and they tried to end it as soon as they came into office, and they had a revolt in the military. We created Space Force. That's the first time in 78 years since the Air Force that something like that's been done, creating a new branch.
Oh, that's gone. And I'm, you know, I'd like to believe that at some point you have to stop pretending that you, yeah, you're right. Maybe we're not just as strong, you mean? Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think I'm gonna see next week. So I mean, we have time, but I'm going in and out of places. But not everyone has time.
I finally got a short this so I can get in the plane. I'm of the view that in the last 3 to 5 years, the world has reached a fundamental inflection point about what it's going to look like 10 years from now. I mean it literally. It's not hyperbole, it's not like I'm trying to pump it up. I think it's a genuine reality. And so each of the countries around the world, particularly those who had real power at one time or still do, are wondering, how do I maintain and sustain our leadership in the world? That's what the United States is going through right now. How do we sustain us being the leading, most powerful, and most democratic country in the world? A lot's going on. I don't know about you. I never anticipated, notwithstanding, no matter how persuasive President Trump was, that we'd have people attacking and breaking down the doors of the United States Capitol. I didn't think that would happen. I didn't think I'd see that in my lifetime. But it's reinforced what I've always known and what I got taught by my political science professors and by the senior members of the Senate that I admired when I got there. That every generation has to reestablish the basis in this fight for democracy. I mean, for real. Literally have to do it. And I've never seen, including since the Civil War, such an outward assault on voting rights. I mean, just a flat assault. I didn't anticipate that happening 4 years ago, but it's happening now. There's a lot at stake. Each of the countries, we have our own concerns and problems, but we still, as long as I'm president, we are going to stick to the notion that we're open, accountable, and transparent. And I think that's an important message to send to the world. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mr. President. Come back and see us on the plane.
I'm here to talk to you about these FEMA camps.
They don't exist.
So why was it put into that bill?
What in the hell is this?
Coffin.
It's hundreds of thousands of coffins.
And if they had to get rid of people or dissidents, they got the caskets for it, don't they?
Yes, and we found stockpiles all over the country.
In 2003, I had a patient in my drug-free medical practice who was a head of state. And one day she said, you know, it's almost time for the great culling to begin.
The what?
That's what I said. The what? She said the great culling, C-U-L-L-I-N-G, when you thin the herd. I said, what are you talking about? She said, it's almost time for the useless eaters to be culled. And she said, those are the people who are consuming our non-renewable natural resources. I said, who are the people who make this decision? She said, We, the aristocrats.
Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee agreed to talk about the bill. Remember, he's a co-sponsor. I'm here to talk to you about these FEMA camps. I'm very disturbed about them. Why would we be building these things all over the country? For what purpose?
Well, we wouldn't, because they don't exist. It's just a figment of some people who have concerns about maybe Martians or other creatures coming to infiltrate our society, thinking that there are such camps. But
so
there are
none
no
of these,
such
there
camps.
are no such. So why was it put into that bill? It's in a bill. So it's put into the bill. It doesn't exist. There are no FEMA camps anywhere in America.
No, there aren't. But they're not people that have been taken there, by some green monsters in a machine.
We redid a lot. As you remember, I made Space Force, and they tried to end it as soon as they came into office, and they had a revolt in the military. We created Space Force. That's the first time in 78 years since the Air Force that something like that's been done, creating a new branch.
What's really interesting about the film is that in the year
14, 21,
yeah, it's 2020, I'm going to be alive. I'm going to be alive in the year 2020, and I just hope that I'm not living in a place like that when I finally get to the year 2020, because it's portrayed as more of the deterioration of our society rather than the strengthening of it. And I truly believe that my wonderful country is getting better rather than deteriorating. My character, Rachel, is absolutely possible by the year 2020. It's absolutely possible that I could be genetically engineered by that time. That's what made it very easy to play the character, because it is possible. Knowing that was a source of direction for me in the character.
You even say to Harrison Ford, possibility here that maybe you too could be genetically engineered.
Right.
I mean, why not?
There were times in the film when thinking about, I mean, as far as, as an actress, you mull around for a long time trying to find who your character is. And you do that by yourself. You do that when you wash the dishes. I mean, you do that when you're on your own time, and it's just peacetime with your own character. And there were times when actually thinking about the fact that in the year 2020, I'm going to be alive, was sort of pin-prickling. If I have feelings, how does that make me any different than you? How does that make me less of a person just because I was engineered? If I have feelings as well, it's like an important question even now. When you think about slaughtering animals and everything. I mean, there are some feelings that are aroused in a person when they watch Blade Runner, because it can affect you on many different levels as far as where our society is going and where we are as people and what we really take for granted.
50 more years, and we're all gonna know why, when, where, how, and who gets to go. Let's all have a good time before the break of life. Things will start separating come 2020.
If you see us as some kind of demonic outer space aliens, that's your prerogative. But, there is no but. There is only the freedom to do whatever the hell you want to do. Oh, you can say heck, whatever you want to do in this country, short of stepping over your line of liberties and freedoms.
Here to talk to you about these FEMA camps.
They don't exist.
So why was it put into that bill?
What in the hell is this?
Coffins. It's hundreds of thousands of coffins.
And if they had to get rid of people or dissidents, they got the caskets for it, don't they?
Yes, and we found stockpiles all over the country.
In 2003, I had a patient in my drug-free medical practice who was a head of state. And one day she said, you know, it's almost time for the great culling to begin.
The what?
That's what I said. The what? She said the great culling, C-U-L-L-I-N-G, when you thin the herd. I said, what are you talking about? She said, it's almost time for the useless eaters to be culled. And she said, those are the people who are consuming our non-renewable natural resources. I said, who are the people who make this decision? She said, we, the aristocrats.
Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee agreed to talk. I'm here to talk to you about these FEMA camps. I'm very disturbed about them. Why would we be building these things all over the country? For what purpose?
Well, we wouldn't, because they don't exist. It's just a figment of some people who have concerns about maybe Martians or other creatures coming to infiltrate our society, thinking that there are such camps. But
so
there are no such
camps. There are no such. So why was it put into that bill? It's in a bill, so it's put into the bill. It doesn't exist. There are no FEMA camps anywhere in America.
No, there aren't. But they're not people that have been taken there, you know, by some green monsters in a machine.
That fusion centers are actually command centers for a network of concentration camps ready to be activated under martial law.
I do not feel safe living in the United States.
Do you want to come in and sit down?
No, sir. I'd rather not.
You'd rather just be here so you can make a fast exit if you have to.
As soon as you and I finish,
you're out
I'm
here.
leaving the country again. Why? Because in a very short time, not today, not tomorrow, but very soon, we'll be facing compulsory vaccination under the mistaken term of voluntary vaccination.
Are you talking to me now about the current swine flu? Is that
I am.
What you're talking about? Now, what is it about these vaccinations? You think that they're bad?
Well, first of all, let's start with the fact that the World Health Organization has decided that we have 90% too many people.
I think that it's really a fulfillment of a dream that we had together with my leadership team when we started in 19. The first week we met in January of 19 in California and to set up the goals for the next 5 years. And one of them was by 2023 we will reduce the number of people in the world by 50%. I think today this dream is becoming reality.
Stop economic and population growth, or else our planet will not cope. And as you know, this report has sparked a long controversy.
This war is really a turning point of history, and it will reshape our political and our economic landscape in the coming years. But we also are at the tail end of the most serious health catastrophe of the last 100 years, COVID-19, and we have to reinforce our resilience against a new virus possibly, or other risks which we have on the global agenda. We also have to address urgently the issue of climate change and all the other issues related to the preservation of nature.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
There's going to be people of means who are going to travel, and then there's going to be people maybe of lesser means who might actually be able to use an Oculus or a Magic Leap or some other kind of device to travel to the same place, but from their own couch. But in many ways, it's actually going to create even more distance between those two people. That psychologically, and I think that we've experienced this through social media. In many ways, it's brought people closer in certain ways, but actually created this remarkable divide because it's even more visible, actually, the divide.
And then finally, we cannot hide away from human population growth because, you know, it underlies so many of the other problems. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago.
The World Health Organization has been working since 1974 on vaccines to create permanent sterility.
And going forward, we are entering our sixth five-year strategy starting 2026. We're accelerating our work. We will reach more children with more vaccines faster than ever before. And not just more children, more individuals, because we have vaccines we have the HPV vaccine for adolescents as well, and who knows, the TB vaccine is on the anvil. And we are significantly accelerating our work. And we are really thankful to our donors. Prime Minister, thank you so much. At the launch of our investment opportunity, the government of Spain announced that it will at least commit to a 25% increase. We're extremely thankful to you for that. Extremely thankful to the European Union and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for hosting our replenishment event. And I think all of you are Gavi ambassadors. Really thankful to you for the support that they lend to our work.
Doctor, the response is going to be, you're crazy. How can you say this stuff?
I show them the documentation.
Now, this is pretty shocking.
This process has already been ongoing. To make matters worse, we know that the vaccines that were illegally approved by the FDA contain a substance called squalene.
Squalene, an organic compound used in vaccines to stimulate the immune system and increase the response.
If I inject you with squalene, your immune system will attack the squalene, but then it starts attacking all of the parts of your body. What does that look like when you meet a person to whom that is happening? It looks like Gulf War syndrome. It looks like every joint in the body swollen and intolerably painful and immobilized.
This is in these shots they're going to give us?
It's in some of them, but the U.S. government has a trick up their sleeve.
Which is?
They will induce a pandemic using the nasal mist vaccine, which is a live attenuated virus. That means that if I take it, I can infect you. You're going to get the flu. Everybody around us is going to get the flu. Then the United States government, based on their statements that they've already made, will say, oh my, we have a pandemic. Oh my goodness, we don't have enough doses. So we'll admix squalene at the 90,000 injection stations that the Department of Health and Human Services announced that they will ship the vaccines to.
People lining up,
sometimes by the hundreds, for an H1N1 flu shot.
What that means is a Holocaust, a genocidal Holocaust. Men and women will sicken and die, and those who survive will be infertile.
On this virus.
It's a pretty serious situation.
I bet your ass it's a serious situation.
Stern's flu has now been declared a national pandemic.
What the hell did you put in that vaccine?
Created a flu that sparked the demand for a vaccine that doesn't work. After everyone in the country is vaccinated.
And the world?
He'll have murdered millions.
Nope, you don't have it. And we have taken that virus and embedded it in the vaccine of the Stern's flu.
I knew it. I knew it. He created a panic and now everybody's begging for the vaccine.
No. Demanding it. With all the entitlement of a first world country. Yes. And now we have exactly what we want. Hundreds of millions of Americans lining up, offering us their arms, and letting us give them our creation.
I'm pretty sure when every vaccinated person starts dying, they'll trace it back to undetectable virus or not.
What we are doing is far bigger than death.
You're killing people.
I told you it does not kill. That was the amazing epiphany we had. We didn't have to kill to accomplish our goal. We intend to stop human reproduction for 3 generations. The busy, endless global assembly line of babies will grind to a halt. You're sterilizing people? Uh-huh. In the first 5 years, we'll start to see major birth rate declines as teenagers vaccinated stay at their childbearing years. I love people.
How? Why would
Doing what our government or citizenry is too spoiled or self-indulgent to do. We are saving ourselves from ourselves.
Halting overpopulation.
100 years ago, the global population was 1.7 billion. 2011, it reached
7 billion.
People live too long, die less often, fuck too much, shit out babies like...
In 2050, they say it's going to plateau.
It'll be too late to save an Earth that bears any resemblance to a world we actually want to live in. We have to live modestly. We have to live selflessly. And as you know, we're not that good at it.
You can't just decide people won't have babies.
I can, and I did.
And I've been told in another area certain things about the phenomenon that are quite disturbing. I mean, there are a lot of people privately claiming to me things about the implications of the phenomenon that go beyond, far beyond the whole notion of just, I mean, I wish it was as simple as extraterrestrials getting in their little spaceships and flying from Zeta Reticuli and coming to this planet. That's the easy explanation. The explanation that I've been exploring in recent months is more complex, and I've already spoken about this to some extent, so I will say it involves the notion of future human time travel. And look, it's only hypothetical. I'm not saying it's real, but if what I'm being told about that is true, then yeah, I would be somber too.
Why is that somber? Why is the fact or the potential that it might be humans in the future terrifying?
Because of what it... Well, I think I wouldn't be giving too much away if I said that you think about it. Why, since 1947, has there been a phenomenon taking an interest in the human race, particularly in nuclear weapons? Why is something or someone apparently trying to send us a message about nuclear weapons? Why is it that nuclear weapons are being shut down by what Slide 9 refers to as remote sensor disassembly? What's it trying to say? What's coming? Imagine if, and I'm only speaking hypothetically here, imagine if future humans knew that if we continue on the path we're going, there's going to be a nuclear war or a conflagration of some time. Wouldn't you want to head that off? Wouldn't you want to protect your kin? And imagine if you were somebody in the US defense and intelligence establishment that was aware of that quite insane sounding idea that this might be a time thing, a future war thing. And imagine if you're worried that anything you do might jeopardize that time stream.
I think we're going to be in any shape in a decade to be doing very much of anything. So I'm not hopeful for the future direction that we're moving in.
And the future direction, climate-wise, AI-wise?
Climate-wise and geopolitical-wise, the whole thing I think is going to kind of come. I think things are going to be pretty difficult starting in a few years. And from what I've been told by sources.
What does that mean? It's going to be difficult?
I can't say specifically. I don't know that much yet, and I can't really say, but just that a lot of what we take for granted now in life, I don't think is going to be, we're not going to have it. A lot of things we have now that makes our lives as wonderful as they are.
I'm being told this is future human. And I'm being told that what we're looking at is an effort by a future civilization to stop a catastrophe, to stop us silly monkeys that are playing with matches, as Edgar Mitchell once said to his good friend, the spaceman. There is a real mood of apocalypse in the people that I'm engaging with officially, who speak to me on a background basis in defence or intelligence in the United States in particular. They are really worried that we're heading for a calamity.
It does appear certainly that that the UAP activity seems more provocative. It seems less afraid, less elusive, more in our face. More willing to defy our controlled airspace. That I agree with wholeheartedly. That's a concern for us.
Some of the people I chat with who deal with this, mentioned that they feel like maybe something is going to be happening soon.
You're building a bunker out there in Wyoming?
The rule to Fight Club is you never talk about Fight Club. Right? So if you're building a bunker, you don't tell people because then everybody knows where to go when everything goes south. So, it would be remiss of me to not say that. Yeah, I think people look. Being prepared is not a bad thing. Now, being paranoid, maybe.
A bunker feels a little paranoid, Lou.
Well, look, there's an old saying, right? Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
Is there some deep, dark secret to part of this that maybe the public should not know because we'd freak out?
Well, there's always that cognitive dissonance, right? But again, going back to what I said, that America can handle the truth. Look, if I go to the doctor and I've got stage 4 cancer, look, doctor, let me know, right? Don't keep it from me. It may be bad news, but at least I got a chance to fight it, right? Don't keep that from me, right? This is information that I think we're all entitled to know if we want to know. I think, that if some people were to find out that maybe humans don't have as much influence on their own future, maybe as we might think we do, right? Look, a hurricane comes in and wipes out a town, and we don't have a vote in that, do we? We're a lot more helpless than we really think we are.
What is imminent?
Time is not a luxury that we can afford. The time has come. We need to start having the conversation collectively. We should have had it a while ago, but we really need to. We really need to start having the conversation.
Now, there have been some significant rumors of events regarding UAP that may occur within, like 10 years or so. I don't know if it's something coming or a natural disaster. You hear of something big coming down the pike. Have you heard of these claims? And if so, do you have any idea what it may be?
Yes, I've heard of them. Yes, I'm aware of them, and I'm not able to have that conversation.
Got it.
It's not my conversation to have, but I am aware of it.
So I heard you had a little visitor yesterday, Lou Alejandro.
Oh yeah,
that you brought him in. What made you reach out or get connected with him?
I had heard. Well, I'd heard about it.
Yeah.
One, he's an expert, and that's the other thing. I'm gonna bring him back. Everybody, you young people, ought to hear it particularly, because we've got a real problem.
There's certainly something going to happen in 2027, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I've also heard 2034, and I've also heard other dates, much later. But depends who you talk to. Some people say it's a pole reversal. Some people say it's an asteroid hitting the planet. Some people say it's AI reaching quantum, and then all of a sudden we lose the capacity to have control of our own computer systems. I have no idea. What I am aware of is that everybody's telling me we're on borrowed time. And I cannot begin to emphasize how serious a look I get when I say to people who are confiding in me, what's the timescale on this? And they're urging me to be urgent. They're saying to me, people need the right to know this. They have a right to know this. And I'm going, well, what are we talking about? And I feel like shaking these people and saying, for God's sake, just bloody tell me. And they are all constrained by their national security oaths. They want the public to know this.
Our projections show that by the year 2025, not only America, but the entire planet will be under the protection and the dominion of this power alliance. The gains have been substantial, both for ourselves and for you, the human power elite. You have given us entree to the resources we need in our ongoing quest for multidimensional expansion. And in return, the per capita income of each of you here tonight has grown, and this year alone, by an average 39%. And I've just received word that our forces have won a major victory. The underground terrorist network has been destroyed here on the West Coast. We are off crisis alert. The situation is normal again.
How you doing, boys? I didn't know you'd been recruited. Welcome aboard.
Earth is our stepping stone for a
You know you boys really should have dressed for the party now you can afford it. I gotta tell you, I sure am proud to be here. You seen the whole place?
I haven't had a chance to yet.
Come on, I'll show you around. You know, I knew me and you had a lot in common. First time we met.
Money isn't the nicest thing in life.
Hey, waiter.
The only thing.
Thank you, buddy.
Excuse me. Where the hell are we?
Backstage at the show, boys. I'll admit it is a little funky, but it serves its purpose. How'd you get here? Use one of these little portable jobs? I know we ain't supposed to use them except in cases of emergency, but they're so much fun. Now, if you think that's something, take a look at this. Go on, take a closer look.
Attention commuters. Flight Alpha 7 to Andromeda is now ready for boarding. Please step to the transmission platform.
That's where we come from.
All carry-on luggage must be held securely. Thank you for waiting, and we hope you have a pleasant trip.
Exactly, but it has to do with some sort of gravitational lens deal, bending a light or some damn thing. But you can move from place to place, world to world if you want to. You see, the whole thing here works like one big airport. Boys, let me tell you, they got their act together. Believe you me.